Hi guys, I'm Woodcraft Hamster, and today I wanted to do a quick video about spoons, and in particular a little tip for making the carving of the inside of the spoon bowl a little bit easier, in some cases a little bit quicker. And what most people will be familiar with are these. Now this is a spoon knife. It is essentially a curved hook shaped blade, normally with a single bevel, but you can get them double as well, and the idea being is that you will use this hook shape to carve out the inside of your spoon bowl, and they work really well, but they can be a little bit tricky, a little bit fiddly. They take a bit of practice for getting used to, and I'd certainly recommend anyone that wants to carve spoons to learn how to use one of these. But there are other methods. Now for me, spoon knives, their main benefit is that they're portable, they're small, they're lightweight. You can pop them into your pack if you're going out for a camping session or something, and I usually really enjoy sort of sitting there around camp, maybe while dinner's cooking, just carving myself a little spoon, and it's what I'll use to eat with. Now what I want to suggest today is using one of these. This is a gouge. This particular one is made by a company called File, and it is a number 7 gouge with a 35mm sweep, and I think this personally for me is a really good all-rounder. It's kind of a general purpose gouge. You can get them, this is a straight gouge obviously, you can get them bent and curved as well. I prefer the straight one, but that's just me. And if you're doing your spoon carving at home, maybe in a workshop or something like that, gouges are actually, in my opinion, a much better option for carving spoon bowls. They give you a lot more versatility. You can use more pressure on them, you can rough out your spoons much quicker, and you get a lot more control. At least that's what I find. So what I'm going to do, I've got a little blank here that I'm going to be turning into a spoon today. I'm going to move the camera around a bit to get you a better angle, and I'll show you how it is I would use a gouge to set in my spoon bowl. Right then guys, so before we start, I just want to talk very quickly about securing your workpiece. Now obviously if you have a vise, that's fine, you can just clamp it in. If like me you usually use something like a carving stump, I find the easiest way is literally to just screw it down. Now what I tend to do is make sure there is a decent piece of waste wood at the end of whatever I'm carving. I'll put a couple of holes in, usually offset, and the benefit of that is if you have just one screw and you're putting a lot of force on it, the thing can sort of start to spin round. If you put 2 screw holes in that are slightly offset, it just locks it in nice and solid. Now anyone that's ever used a spoon knife will be familiar with this, but essentially if I wanted to carve this bowl with just a spoon knife, absolutely it's possible, but it is a bit of a faff. Now obviously it's not quite at the right angle, but essentially what you're doing is scraping off very small, and I'll give you an example, you know, very small thin shavings, and that's because of the way these are designed. I mean obviously, you know, this is seasoned wood. Well, I say normally, often you'll find people using green, and they do cut better with green wood, but I'm using seasoned. I often do because it depends what I have lying around my workshop, and using a gouge is just a much quicker option. I'll give you an example. If I come round to the other side, I normally line my gouge up with the outer edge or close to, and for this I'm going to use a mallet and straight away you can see the difference in the size and the the size and thickness of these shavings. Alternatively, if I come around the other side, if you don't have a mallet or you don't want to use one, you can just use a little bit of pressure, and straight away you're taking off some fairly thick shavings. And I've certainly, these 3 little depressions you can see here that I've made with the gouge would probably have taken a good 5 minutes or so with something like a spoon knife. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start carving round, making a little bit of a start, and I'll come back when we've made a bit of progress. So there we go guys, that is about 5 minutes work, and it certainly is a lot quicker going than using a spoon knife, and also you're able to control it so much more. Obviously you'll see there's a little line down the middle here where the cuts from either side meet up. Now you get that with a spoon knife as well, and all you need to do is just come down from the back and then flip round. Hopefully I'm not blocking you too much there, and join them up. Now I'm going to move off camera. I'm just going to tidy this up a little bit, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like when we're done. So there you go guys, less than 10 minutes worth of work with my gouge for what would usually take probably half an hour to an hour with a spoon knife depending on conditions. Now let me give you a quick close-up of this bowl. Obviously there's a few tool and chatter marks in there which you're always going to get, and this is about the stage where I would normally bring out my spoon knife and use this nice fine blade just to start removing some of those tool marks, any sort of little raised areas, and just generally smoothing it down, ready for a final sanding. Now if I'm out in my workshop, as I've said before, I will almost always use a gouge because it just seems the right tool for the job. That said, if I'm out in the field, I'll normally just take a spoon knife. It's not particularly easy to use something like this unless you're able to lock your piece of work down. You certainly don't want to be balancing it on your leg and trying to gouge and that kind of thing. So spoon knives, when you're out in the field where you can control your piece of work with one hand and your tool with the other, are a really good idea. And to be honest, when I'm out in the field, I've got the time to sit there and just relax, go through things kind of nice and slowly and steadily, and you know, I find it very enjoyable, and there's no reason why you couldn't or shouldn't do it like this at home. I just find, because I've got this gouge, you know, it certainly just makes my work easier for me. So I hope that's useful guys. I hope it's given you something to think about. You know, if you are either a spoon carver already or it's something you're just getting into, I can highly recommend getting yourself a decent gouge. You don't need loads of them, and I know people who've got several different types, sizes and styles. This is my main gouge. This is the one I use for almost everything, spoons, bowls, etc. I've got a couple of others that are good at specific specialist tasks, but this works really well for me as an all-rounder. So as I say guys, hope it was useful, hope it's given you something to maybe try out if you get the chance. It certainly makes carving spoons easier in my mind, if nothing else, and it's just an alternative to the trusty spoon knife. Comments and questions in the box below. Hit like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I hope you'll all join me next time. Cheers guys.